Welcome to Geese Cars. My name is Eric and today we got the 2021 Nissan Sentra SR, another new manufacturer, so welcome Nissan on the channel. And the new Nissan Sentra SR, honestly, I've been looking forward to getting this car for one very specific reason. This manual transmission. You can have it with the CVT or with the manual, go with the manual, later more on that. But we got the manual transmission, and I'll be honest, I haven't driven a manual in 2 years, more than 2 years. I was so excited to finally drive one again. It feels so good. And yes, you do notice that I haven't driven a manual in 2 years. Please don't be too rough with me. Anyhow, also what's also very interesting about this Sentra is that unlike all the other cars recently, this one is pretty cheap. At just over $25,000 Canadian, it prices so much lower than most other cars we've had recently, and still packs features that $50,000 Mercedes, I keep having issues with the plural of that, Mercedes didn't pack. So let's take a look at that. But as always, let's start off with acceleration. Let's go over here. VDC settings, traction control off. We have front wheel drive on this one. This is not all-wheel drive. Also the first car I have on this channel that is not all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive. So manual launch is always the most fun. There we go. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 80, 80, still 80. So yeah, it's not, let's go into 6. I've shifted a bit slower there because I haven't quite accustomed to this transmission yet. So once I know more, I can shift a little faster. But I just wanted to make sure that we can still be kind of smooth while we're launching this one. The launch initially wasn't perfect anyhow. It was still fun because it's a manual transmission, even though this car is kind of slow. Naturally aspirated 2-liter inline-4, 149 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque. By far the weakest car so far on this channel, and I will be honest, it can get it's a little underpowered. Like, in combination with the manual, it's not too bad because it's kind of fun then again, right? Because slow car fast is more fun than fast car slow. So you can get some excitement out of that if you're into this. Other than that, like if you're like in 6th gear on the highway and you want to accelerate, yeah, that ain't happening. Under 2,500, 2,600 RPM, nobody's home. Like literally, nobody's home. Nothing's gonna happen. Well, very, very little is gonna happen. So you really have to downshift into 3rd or 4th on the highway to really get going. In the city, obviously, it's no issue whatsoever. And I never really felt like, oh, I needed so much more power. Just you need to shift a bunch, right? And I had fun. Honestly, it was fun. I just enjoy having a manual transmission again because, yeah, that's the way cars are intended to be. Of course, that's personal opinion. But we've got a bit of a corner coming up, so let's see how she handles. Not too bad, didn't go to the limit there, but honestly I never noticed any like terrible handling. It's front wheel drive, so it's eventually gonna understeer if you push it hard. We're still on the winter tires, that's also why I'm not going too hard on it right now. But we've been talking about the engine and the transmission. Why don't we take a look at the looks of this Nissan Sentra SR. Okay, exterior impressions. First of all, this is one of the 3 color combinations that are dual tones that you can have on the Sentra. This is gunmetal gray combined with black. You can also have a very bright blue with black, and you can have the typical orange, bronzish Nissan color combined with black. Honestly, this gray is probably the most boring, but it kind of works well together with the black accent that we get in the SR, like these black wheels, which I think look really good. We get a blacked out grille that is not ruined by a front plate in this case. Good job, Nissan, I like that. So no front plate on here. Then we have the typical Nissan front shade that we can find on pretty much all Nissans, right? I think overall, nice amount of edges, looks pretty sporty, looks pretty good. Definitely looks more aggressive than this engine under there is. But especially if you compare it to the last generation Sentra, let's be honest, last generation Sentra looked kind of awkward. Proportions, especially inside, way better. We got some nice sharp lines going through, and in the back, again, I think the taillights look pretty good with the sharp lines. My favorite feature though, the exhaust, because we got this really brightly finished exhaust, stands out, pretty big exhaust exit, totally overkill for this car. Doesn't really sound like anything, but I still like having it. Anyhow, those are the exterior. That's what I think about the exterior. Let me know what you think of the I can't even talk. Let me know what you think of the exterior. I am literally waiting because there are geese that are crossing the street very slowly. Come on, geese, hurry up. I only got so much time. Come on, guys. Wow, they really take their time. All right, Canada, eh? Okay, and back we are. And like I said, I wanted to talk about the transmission real quick because I know some of you are probably already a little annoyed by me constantly being like, "Ooh, let's get a manual." And it's like, yeah, I really love driving manual, but this manual is actually super easy to drive. Like, if you maybe not that proficient with manuals, or you aren't really sure if you should go for a car with a manual, this is probably one of the easiest ones out there. The clutch and the transmission in general, it is so forgiving to you. Like I said, I haven't driven a manual in 2 years, and this car has been so easy to drive. Seriously, like I wasn't driving perfectly. I'll be honest with you guys. I wasn't driving perfectly. There were instances where this car should have stalled, but it didn't because it's such an easy to drive transmission, and they have some nice extras and like some nice features in there that kind of make it a little easier. For example, if you, like I said, if you're on a hill, you don't want to start from a hill. Notoriously one of the hardest tasks in a manual transmission because you have to brake, give gas, and operate the clutch at the same time, which is why we have a manual handbrake in here. Good job, Nissan, for not going for an electronic one. And that is notoriously one of the hardest tasks with a manual. So this one has hill start assist. I don't know if that's actually what it's called, but it will hold the brake for you if you're on an incline. I can do this actually here. I can show you. So I'm clearly on an incline. Put it in first gear. Clutch is in, so there's no resistance. I'm gonna get off the brake, and it's holding. Now let's go. So if I put it down again, it's holding again, and now it's gonna let go. So just, it holds it for a few seconds, which gives me time to accelerate a little and get going. And as soon as you get going a bit and it has enough torque, it'll let go of the brakes. So that makes it so much easier to drive. And in general, like I said, driving a manual, if you've never really driven a manual, it is not as hard as people make it out to be. Trust me, I've been doing rush hour traffic in Toronto in this one, and it becomes second nature. Honestly, you don't think about shifting it at some point. Even after not having driven for 2 years, you get so used to driving a manual that you don't think about it. And it just, in those moments where you want to think about it because you're driving a little more sporty, it just adds a lot to the experience. I'll be honest with you. I'm sorry. I just really enjoy driving manual, okay? And so yeah, thank you to Nissan for including a manual. It's just kind of a bit of a dying breed, unfortunately. So yeah, they didn't just include a manual, but they also made sure that it is a manual that is feasible and that is, easy to drive for people who are maybe on the fence on if they want to have a manual. Trust me, the CVT will not be as fun. And also, unfortunately, I have to mention this, Nissan CVTs do not have the best reputation in terms of reliability. I highly suggest you take the manual. It's more fun and it's safer in terms of reliability, okay? That's what I'm mentioning to you. But I wanted to address really quick, again, talked about the SR and it's not having like a limited slip differential, right, which really make the difference. Did I talk about that? I don't know. Well, so the SR, I don't think I talked about it, right? So the SR here, it's kind of advertised as the sporty, as a sporty version of the Nissan Sentra, but it's actually just the mid-trim level. It has blacked out accent, has the 18-inch wheels, which look good, but naturally, due to them having less sidewall, kind of make the ride quality a little worse, and the suspension feel harder. So it doesn't really have any goodies that add sportiness to it. What would really be a game changer would be like a limited slip differential in the front, but at this budget I don't really expect it, and I don't mean to complain to Nissan for being like, oh, why did you label this as an SR and make it like sound sporty? but that's just because it increases sales, but they never really said this is a sports car. So just for clarification here, this is not a sporty model, this is a Metro Nissan Sentra that happens to look sporty, okay? Just so you know. And yeah, but I wanted to touch on the suspension and the ride quality real quick, because the ride quality isn't that great. I'll be honest, it's not that it's like overly harsh, but if you just feel a lot of vibrations coming through on uneven and badly paved roads. You just kind of feel like everything's shaking around you, and it doesn't feel that nice, I will be honest. But in terms of like, it wasn't uncomfortable per se. It's what you expect at this price level, let's be honest. It is a very cheap car, so you have to go in with certain expectations. But talking about certain expectations, sometimes these expectations are actually not accurate, and that is the case with the interior of this Sentra. So why don't we take a look at the interior of this Nissan Sentra. Okay, exterior impressions of the 2021 Nissan Sentra SR. And I was talking about expectations. And honestly, before I picked this car up, I looked at the price of $25,000 Canadian, and I did not expect a nice interior. But I was very pleasantly surprised once I got in. First of all, a lot of nice and soft materials used throughout the cabin on all the touch points. We got a lot of leatherette here. We got leatherette up here. Especially, I love how more and more automakers realize how important it is to have a nice, soft and plush center console. So this, really nice. And in front, the dashboard looks like leather, is actually plastic, and it's not too harsh of a plastic, but it looks really nice. We got the contrast stitching throughout, like it. Manual transmission compared with a manual handbrake, just the way it's supposed to be. And in terms of usability, it's really good. Gauges are very nice and clear, analog gauges with a screen in the middle. You have plenty of information. There we have dual zone climate controls even, and our seats are heated, and we have a heated steering wheel. That is honestly so good at the price range right here. Also have a moonroof out there which we can open, which closes manually, like the shade, right? One thing though, these seats look great, and they're honestly the softest seats I've ever had in like any modern-ish car. It's kind of insane how soft these seats are, which would be comfortable if there would be one change, right? So my shoulders, nice and comfortable. My bum, nice and comfortable. My lower back though has kind of no support, which is a shame because these seats would have been so nice. But if I drive for like 10 or 15 minutes, that's when it starts. If I drive longer, it just gets worse, right? I noticed that I kind of start sliding down a little, by a bit, and eventually I sit here like this, which is comfortable until I stand up and notice what I've just done to my back, and then I'm in pain for a bit. So if these seats would have a little more lower back support, they would be great. Like this, kind of have an issue with them. But one more quirky thing about this interior, you know how normally cars have like a little cubby in front, like where the ports are for like the USB ports, where you put your phone. So this one has one too. But for some reason, let me just take my phone to demonstrate. There's a bump in there. It would fit perfectly if it went for that bump. And even with the bump, if the bump would just be smaller, I don't know. I guess it's because it's start-stop button, but even there's so much room. I don't know why they did that. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but as it is, it doesn't fit a phone. It's kind of weird. Other than that, because I got the new phone, right? I can finally test Android Auto, which works fine. Apple CarPlay also included, so that's perfect because you don't have navigation in this one, so you can just take your phone. And yeah, other than that, honestly, really happy. Let's take a quick look at the back seats before we get back to driving. Okay, now going into the back row here of the Sentra SR. First of all, legroom, well, footroom, pretty good. Legroom, really good. Headroom, maybe if you lean back like I do right now, maybe it could be a little tight if you're like 6 feet and above. Other than that, as soon as you go like a bit straight, you'll have plenty of room up here, so that will be no issue whatsoever. The seats, same super plush, soft seats that we have in the front, but for some reason these have better low back support, so I feel like these are actually nicer as they kind of support you better. I don't know, kind of weird. Same leatherette we've got in the front, bit more harsher plastic up top, but that really doesn't matter. This is nice. Interestingly though, the window button is unlabeled. I don't recall ever having seen it unlabeled. I mean, it's painfully obvious what it's going to do, right? Because what else is the button going to do right here at the back of a Nissan Sentra except for roll down the window? But still, it's kind of weird. Anyhow, You got one singular USB outlet, which if you want to maybe charge for like 2 or 3 phones, you definitely want to buy an outlet for that, but I mean these cost like $10 on Amazon. And other than that, we have cup holders right here, as we always do. And yeah, we've already taken a look at the trunk, so why don't we just go back to driving. Okay, and back we are, and my expectations for this interior were definitely way too low, because this is actually, considering the price, such a nice interior. Honestly, this is a really good interior. I was so happy about this, but I just talked about this. I don't need to repeat myself. Before we get to the final thoughts, I really quickly want to just address 1 or 2 more things, and that is our assists, well, our features, right, that this car offers, because at $25,000 Canadian, this Nissan Sentra SR offers features that some cars recently had, even $50,000 plus Mercedes didn't offer. Mercedes is such a weird plural, by the way. Mercedes-Benzes, multiple Mercedes cars, I don't know. But anyhow, that they didn't even offer. For example, automatic high beam assist. Thank you, Nissan. Honestly, at $25,000, we're getting to the range where I expect automatic high beams. Nissan put it in. Good job. I'm basically not putting any mark. I'm not taking any marks away from that, unlike the Mercedes, which cost $50,000 and still wanted to nickel and dime you for honestly one of the most basic features any car should. Every car should have this nowadays, pretty much. So good job, Nissan. First on. And the second one is a feature that I totally did not expect, and that is adaptive cruise control. This car actually comes equipped with adaptive cruise control, which is really nice, and in your commute, if you're commuting often or far, it really is it's such a nice feature to have. It's gonna make it a lot easier and just a lot less exhausting to drive if you maybe had a stressful day, right? So I really didn't expect it to have it. Like I said, once again, those Mercedes should have had it. They didn't have it. This car that costs less than half of those has it. So good job, Nissan. Really nice feature palette. Really nice feature. And yeah, you know, I talked around a lot of stuff, and there's kind of a few things we need to piece together to have like a proper picture of what kind of value this Sentra offers. So why don't we just send it off to the final thoughts? Okay, final thoughts on the 2021 Nissan Sentra SR, quickly before it starts raining again, which looks like it's gonna happen any minute now. So, I'll be honest with you guys. I got into the week of this Sentra, and I didn't have high expectations for it whatsoever. But I was pleasantly surprised by how good of a value Nissan is offering with this all-new Sentra. So let's just go through it. Let's just go through it real quick. There we go. First of all, I think it looks pretty decent. Secondly, the interior is really nice. A lot of plush materials, very usable, looks good, and the seats are really nice if they support your lower back. It's a bit of a question mark. I can only tell you how it is for me. It might be different for other people. So if you're interested in the Sentra, definitely go for a long extended test drive, which you should always do anyway. Go for a long extended test drive, see if the lower back is supported for you or if that doesn't fit as well, just so you know that. Anyhow, a little question mark there, continuing. Number 4, we've got a lot of features here. We've got automatic high beams, we've got the adaptive cruise control, which even some more expensive cars don't offer. Nissan has it standard in this Sentra SR, which is really nice. Now, there's one thing which you can't go around. This car is clearly underpowered. At a 149 horsepower, it's just slow. Sorry, that's the way, there's no other way of putting it, it's slow. But the manual transmission, just like I told you, kind of remedies that. I don't want to go over it all again. I told you about that for 15 minutes, but the manual transmission compared to the CVT is $1,200 Canadian cheaper. It is more reliable and it's more exciting, and it's not that hard to drive, trust me. So if you're interested in the Sentra, go with the manual. Do not go with the CVT. You'll save money and all the other things I just said. So yeah, honestly, first, thank you Nissan for offering a manual, by the way. I enjoyed that. But no, summing up, I think Nissan has a very good entry in the budget area of the car market. At $25,000 Canadian, you still get plenty of car. You get more car for the money than you would get in most other cars. So yeah, honestly, the all-new Sentra, really good job, Nissan. I like it. With that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, so we not only grow this channel, which means we get bigger, better, faster, cooler, you insert cars. We get more cars, general. And other than that, you get awesome videos. So it's kind of like a win-win, right? Anyway, if you liked the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, and goodbye. And I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't get into this week with a lot of high expectations for this Sentra, for this all-new Sentra, but I was pleasantly surprised. Why do you have to have an alarm going off? Welcome back from the exterior, and the final thoughts are not what I was talking about. No, I was so confused. But after spending with a week, dude, I love that the sun is out, but it just really doesn't work well right now, because if because this is gonna be horribly exposed. Like, want to see terrible exposure? Look at this, look at this. Look, oh man, this is so nicely overexposed.